Thank you, Fatima. That was powerful introductions for all of us. Welcome, panel members. We're going to start the rigor now. It's beautiful to be here. Samir, thanks, and the team, thank you so much for putting this all together. We are loving the vibe, loving the energy, and hopefully some outstanding conversations. We've already had a great spotlight talk. While I'm sitting here with esteemed panelists who have been introduced remarkably well, I can't help but remind us, all of us, that what is 3AI, Beyond 3AI conference following? We are in India right now, and I was reading the paper in the morning, which I'm sure most of you do, digitally or in print. Hopefully all of you will read digital. I think I'm old school, I'm reading the print still. And it was talking about the conference in Netherlands that just finished. Anyone, raise your hand, let me know what the conference name is, no problem. Samir will have a great prize, if not, in digital it'll be given. The conference is on how do we have responsible artificial intelligence and its use in military. It was held in Netherlands, Hague, and it was attended by 80 different politicians, business world leaders and all. So AI is something that is being discussed. You flip over the paper and then you read on Times Tech is a wonderful edition that we've all loved to, kind of grow to love over the years. And it talks about ChatGPT. And I'm sure most of you in the room already know, while ChatGPT is getting invented and perhaps people are registering on OpenAI and using it, well, I'm using it for my research. And it amazingly shows you stuff that you keep iterating and, something else in the end that you like. Well, somebody has created ChatGPT 0 for people like us who are researchers and want to get, PhD and give a tool in the hands of professors to say, hey, Supria, use that. So negate that and fail her. Well, with that, what I want to say is AI is in everyday use. We've already seen a fabulous introductory note by Samir, who has taken all my data, to say that there is 15 trillion added to the economic output, and that's, by the way, India and China combined. So we are looking at everyday transformation, business, models, and to quote, this session is about AI first. So it's not really about having AI strategy, which 60% of the companies apparently have. And if you look at the 40% that don't have, just imagine something else now being introduced, which is AI first. Which is not about only having an AI strategy, it's having an AI strategy in such a way that it redefines your core product services, almost putting at the design level, and that's what Google launched. Sundar Pichai spoke in 2016. So Anshuma, since you and I are the only women, I think we will just have a nice conversation, and when I feel like I'll ask the questions to the others too. I'm just kidding. VLK is happy. We just, we talk about, and Anshuma, you represent the world of IT.
That's right.
You do, right? Yeah. And with due respect, if I may, in the introductory note I heard, IT cannot rule or take decisions on AI. We were told to start on a controversial note, so we just thought, why don't we take off from where the first note was left? And therefore, my question to you is, how do you think IT has enabled the adoption of AI? How do you think IT is helping catalyze innovation? What do you think is the power of IT? That maybe, of course, our speaker is right, that it's partly exploited, but partly yet to be explored and exploited. So what do you think we can hope from IT in future?
There's a lot. I beg to differ that IT cannot rule. I think it's a together thing. It's not one or the other. It could be anyone who's a leader and can start off. And I'll give a few examples how AI is enabling in the IT world. So IT world is really divided into 4 main areas. One is the infrastructure, then the application, then the IT security and governance. So in the infrastructure area, really we are having our infrastructure management with the help of AI today. The resource optimization, server optimization, capacity planning, all led by AI. When it comes to the application space, the deployment of applications, even the productivity which is happening, that can be improved with AI. And security is a space which everybody knows about. We are using very sophisticated tools, and I think we were talking about it in the speaker's lounge just before this session. There are things that we are ourselves using in our enterprise called as UEBA, User Entity Behavior Analytics, wherein you are observing the behavior patterns and seeing whether insider risk is there or not. Right? So threat detection, fraud detection, all of it is being enabled by tools which are built on AI. And finally, the governance piece of it, which is more around ticketing and other things, we now have self-resolving service desk as well. So I think in IT world, AI has conquered everything. But just zooming out of that, we've had a lot of AI in HR lately. All our recruitment systems, they are the tools that we are using are AI-based. Even the trainings, leave aside the leadership trainings, a lot of simulations are today AI-based. We had all the other domain trainings also, which were AI-based. We had a huge hyper-automation in finance, which was also partnered with IT. So whatever I'm talking about is in partnership with AI, with IT. And then this was all domain agnostic, but now coming to the actual product, which we are developing in applied materials is into semiconductor equipment manufacturing. So we have tools, and this was in partnership with the AI, with the IT and the business groups. There is a particular tool which helps you look into the semiconductor process. During real time, you can take millions of photographs, and then looking at the wafer and the chips, you can actually optimize the process, which really improves the performance and yields of the chips. So that's where IT is coming, even during the manufacturing. If you look at the lots, where all the different lots, how they are cycles and how we can improve them, even the packaging space, that's all. Each one of them, I'm giving examples where we have actually partnered as IT to enable it. And even in the services side, where we have parts and you have the parts maintenance, the predictive maintenance, all of that is enabled by IT in partnership with business. So I think I have enough examples to quote here to really say that IT is a big part of how we're enabling AI in enterprises.
Thanks, Anshuma. That's fabulous. And I think we'd still agree with the spotlight that IT is enabling, but the power lies with the business. And I think somewhere the answer lies in between. Thank you so much for that. Pankaj, coming to you. You're the Group Chief Data Analytics for such a wide, diverse range of companies. And while we are talking about AI in one, which could be cement, retail, fashion, finance, how do you, in your role, kind of encompass this wide set of businesses and are able to perhaps foray into AI? Give us a little bit of preview into your world.
Yeah, I think this whole conversation about AI first or data first or digital first, I think if you zoom out, these are all supply-side conversations, that you are first in something because that is available. So my opinion is that, over time, because we have come from a very scarcity world, we are all overly focused on the supply side of it. I think suddenly we have gone into the world of abundance where everything is available. And I think, therefore, we should be more focused on the demand side of it, is what is it that we really want. So I see actually focus should be more on searching for meaning and purpose as individuals, corporations, societies, nations, and all of that, and which is already happening. So I don't get overly perturbed about the supply side, because it's all there. I think the question really is, bhai, jana kithe hai? Right? So I think if you think about anything, toothbrush, I could use a neem ka datun. I don't have to go to Big Bazaar and find, all things. I have to first figure out, do I need transportation before I determine whether I need a Tesla car or not? So I think we all need to introspect. We should not have this fetish for supply side, because it's actually going into the world of unsustainability. Figure out really what is it that we need, and then go for that. And I think if you look around, people are discovering the purpose. In fact, our group, first time, 2 years ago, said, we need to find a group purpose. We didn't have a group purpose, we had a company purpose. And the purpose that came about is now enriching lives by building sustainable and dynamic institutions and businesses that inspire trust. There's no talk of growth, there's no talk of anything else. It's all about what you want to do. Now you go figure out, in order to do that as a corporation, what do you need. So I think I'm more focused on figuring out what the opportunity is, how do you create a world of this nature, and then I think supply side is all available. You can just go pick it up. So I don't think we should worry too much about the supply side. It's all inundated with.
Well, I am not going to worry after this conversation for sure, which is brilliant, because that's what one of the things in the paper was talking about, that where are we using this technology to? It's got amazing power, but we look at these entire scavengers, which are manual operations, and then you hear every day somebody or the other is dying with asphyxiation. I never get that word right. It's called simple suffocation and lack of oxygen. That is amazing, right? We should probably look at those. So AI and social causes, maybe Samir will need a completely separate session on that, and we're putting like-minded people together. Mahesh, coming to you, TVS, my God, you're already a market leader, right? And doing fabulously well. You know, people associate with luxury, pride, and, you know, defining the youth. And yet you're saying we're committing to AI and we are going to elevate the customer experience to a different level. So tell us about that, how AI is being used to elevate, get into the minds of customer if you haven't already got there before.
There's always ways to go. Thanks, Supria. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Let me do a 30-second introduction of who we are, for those of you who don't. We are in the mobility set of businesses with TVS Motor as flagship. We have several other automotive companies as well. Most automotive companies also have financial arms. We are no different. So we are in financial services as well, whether NBFC or TVS Credit. We build homes for customers. We also, like Pankaj was talking about, have non-profit operations, plus we also have software businesses as well. So Pankaj and I were joking before that multi-business is always a challenging world. But coming to your question, Supria, right? So let me answer it in a few ways, and what I'm talking about are contributed by my colleagues sitting in this room and elsewhere. So firstly, thanks for everybody. When we talk about customer experience, right, let me talk about it in several layers of how we leverage AI, and also add to Anshuma's question on how intertwined with digital. Today, we talk about any product that we purchase or any service that we purchase. Oftentimes, the discovery happens digital, and there's no difference in automotive, right? So our focus is leveraging AI when it comes to discovery, the purchase, and then products such as financial loans or vehicles also require upkeep. So through the ownership journey. So we look at, for different customer segments, what are the moments of truth? And in each moment of truth, how do we use the twin powers of technology, what we call digital and AI together, right? A few examples, of course, with ChatGPT, chat is very natural. But going beyond that, right? So for example, in an electric vehicle business on the digital side, where customers can buy a vehicle online, we instantly combine both their vehicle purchase need, but also their loan-seeking interest by just asking 2-3 questions. And in a population where in India, for example, 2/3 of our customers, of consumers in India still don't have credit history. So we're bringing that together very, very powerfully. And then still automotive purchase largely happens physically. So when that happens, we extend the same ethos of a 2-minute purchase of a loan when somebody walks into a dealership, either at TVS Motor, but also in any other automotive journey, right, in TVS Credit. It could be for passenger cars, it could be for commercial vehicles and the like. A lot of what we do with AI is actually using the twin power of prediction and prescription together for human-enabled operations, right? I'll give you a couple of examples, right? On the automotive side, when a prospectus walks into a dealership, because of their digital footprint, we can decently estimate their probability of purchase, right? So we leverage that, but also arm our sales executives inside the dealership with nudges so that they're able to make the right talking points, answer customers' questions that they have about our product, etc. Ditto happens on the financial services side after consumers take a loan, and oftentimes they're taking the first loan in their life. So they don't understand payment, the need for making regular payments in a set frequency. So completely digitally aided business where the prediction says, hey, this customer is likely not going to pay on this particular date. And then the collection agent is then armed with the recommendation engine that goes and makes that happen, right? So several pieces there. That's just one layer, right? What we see peripherally on direct to customer. But to make all of this happen, AI is also infused in several other pieces, right? We also manufacture clearly, right, as an OEM. So we use vision AI to look at defects that may happen in the product. We use voice AI or the equivalent of that in machine language, right? So noise, vehicle noise, to understand whether the engine build quality is good. So we have the right products in the first place. The third layer is our product itself is AI infused. You can talk to our vehicles through Voice Connect. We have telemetry data that we have for our electric business, for example, and we are able to get that back as services, that advanced services that our consumers choose to pay for as well. And then lastly, of course, all of this is useful across businesses, so we're also now productizing a lot of this for other clients. So we find applications in several dimensions, including some on the non-profit side. So.
Wow, the list is endless. We can go on and on, from the moments of truth to facilitating finance, understanding you need to pay back, to, whoa, outstanding, to talking to machines. Amazing. And that's what they say the true AI first world will look like when we don't have to struggle and adapt to machines, but the machines are adapting to our lifestyle. I wonder what that would look like. Is somebody sitting here and talking, right, instead of us? Okay, hope not. VLK, save the best for the last, is that what they say? Lovely. As managing partner of Pavestone, I was browsing through and preparing for this session. Like Samir said, we all do prepare, right? We don't take these forums for granted. And I was reading about the E42, which is an NLP-based AI platform that you have invested in. So now we're talking about the use from the IT perspective, from the strategy, from actually product and understanding customer. Talk to us from an investor. What do you see when you see an AI attached to a pitch being made to you and you're like, let's go grab it and make our 100-fold, or how do you decide that?
I wish the 100-fold works out. Okay, thank you. So actually, I've been on both sides. Pavestone is a $100 million fund investing in B2B enterprise startups primarily. And the other side, I was at Broadridge, as a GCC, and understood the AI from that perspective. I just want to spend a little bit of, maybe a minute on the journey itself. If you really think of it, the PC revolution in many ways, in the late 70s, early 80s, kind of changed the world. And in many ways, Excel changed the world, okay? Because Excel brought the power, to the ultimate end user, right? It moved it from the IT/EDP department to the end user. Today, every pitch is an AI pitch. When you're an investor, everybody talks of, every resume is a perfect resume these days, right? And similarly, every startup hires an investment bank and every pitch is perfect, right? So every pitch has AI, every pitch has, blockchain, every pitch has whatever. So why did we invest in E42? We invested in E42 for two reasons. Because their vision was in many ways to become the Excel in AI for the end user, which is, can we move away from a centralized IT department running the strategy to giving power to the end user? So that was one thing we liked, okay? If you have to do that, you can't be too vertically focused. It has to solve a vertical use case, but it has to be a platform. That was the second thing we liked. It was multifunctional, which means that the same AI worker can do a HR use case, can do a finance use case, can do an IT service use case. So in many ways, it starts to become an interface to the organization, okay? Just to give you an example, Accenture uses them for their recruitment. It, kind of scans the resumes, matches the job description, and even does the initial interview. So, so just like you said, so the bot does the interview. So, Mahindra uses it for, an HR use case. It started out with one plant/one division, now across. And the same, AI worker answers, finance queries. Same AI worker also answers IT service desk queries, and also helps you solve the problem. So, what we liked is the vision of, being the Excel of this, the vision of being a multifunctional, okay, and the vision of, bringing the, I would say democratizing the whole decision-making process. That's what we liked about it. And the company is doing very well and got a lot of traction. But I was talking to the team prior. It's not easy because, it's like when you go to sell, you like to see a use case. This is more like, we have the capability, now you tell me the use case. So the challenge is a little on the sales side, but I believe long term this will work out. So that's mine.
Awesome. And we really wish 100 and 1,000-fold return to you on this for your fund and, of course, for the team too, right? Staying with you, VLK, I'm just going to now reverse the cycle, right? That's what a machine would do. Yeah. So let's automate that process. Yeah. When we look at India now, we can't have a conversation sitting in India and say that, with this entire explosive AI, what's our opportunity for India? So this is a nudge for Pankaj and Anshuma. We're going to talk to you about opportunity, but I'm going to talk to VLK and Mahesh about challenges. AI can't stand on its own. It needs huge amount of investment, mind shift, resources, all of that. Otherwise, it's not a technology that's got its own feet and legs. So what do you think are challenges that India perhaps needs to prepare to overcome if we were to mine this opportunity, VLK?
I think I want to take a slightly different perspective to the opportunity. And I think if you really look at it, if you look, I think the infrastructure, the cost will come down, and the cost of running an AI machine either on the edge or on the infrastructure will ultimately be everybody will be able to afford it, or if not, the company has to fund it because it has to be part of the strategy. I don't see that as an issue, and I view it like a supply chain kind of an issue. Okay. But I think the biggest challenge is, I think the way countries and organizations need to think about AI. Okay. My submission is, I think we think of it more mechanically. And we need to think of it more holistically, more biologically, more like an organization. Okay. What I mean by that is, today, example, you go to a hospital, right? You go from one doctor to the other. Okay. So there's one doctor for heart, one doctor for liver, one doctor for foot, etc., etc. And each one is doing his own analytics, okay, and solving his own problem. But he doesn't treat you as a human being, as a body. Right?
As a system, like
as
we
a
say.
system, as an organization, as a biological thing. So I think organizations and countries which start to look at it holistically, okay, and solve the problem holistically, will have the edge. So I think that is the opportunity.
So give us one use case, VLK, and I'll talk to you, Mahesh, on the similar lines. Give us one use case how it can be done. Because we all say, let's look at things holistically. But if we have to translate that for our audience here to say, well, what does that holistic translation mean in a real life? Go from step A to step B to step C, and D is the output. Any idea what does that look like?
So if you stick to the same hospital analogy, I think today there is a specialist and there's a role for a generalist. Okay. And the role for the generalist is the ability to look across, synthesize, okay? And so I believe those roles will come up, okay? Which means that somebody is going to sit here and say, okay, I look at this, and this is the solution, okay? So I believe that the days of specialization are there, but synthesis is going to be one of the key factors down the line. So.
Well, there's an AI integration practice, it looks like it's originating right here in this conference, and it's going to go a long way. Mahesh, what would your answer to this be?
Yeah, I'll answer in two parts. Right? So if you look at the microcosm of an enterprise, if you take our group as an example, right, I think we've gone beyond challenges of embracing AI. I'll come back with some examples later, but if you were to take a step back, the question was more about, as a country, what we can do, right? I look at the significant shifts that have happened in prior revolutions, right? And when they happen, be it agriculture or industrial, there is a huge shift in economic power of countries that embraced it sooner and faster. I think that's a momentous opportunity for every country, of course, including ours in India. And if I look at thus far, the focus of our country has been in the application layer. Don't know where the power of leveraging AI is going to be as an economy and as companies and individuals participating in that economy. If it is in the application layer, I think we are in good stead. But there are several layers to AI. For example, the technology infrastructure that makes AI training possible, acquisition of data and making data as an asset, generating power for this. There are several contours of this that as a country will require significant investment in infrastructure and people upgrade, etc. I assume it has to be some of this where the insight is not clear, and I go back to astrophysics as an example where governments tend to fund it because the ROI isn't very clear. So some of this have to be led. Great to see in a recent budget about setting up 3 AI councils, and of course a lot of the innovation has to be driven by entrepreneurs and organizations and individuals. On just a brief bit on challenges, I know we are out on time. I talked about how adoption is no longer a challenge. It's absolutely true, but it doesn't come easy, right? And you should never take adoption for granted. But it comes with persistence and a point of view, right? And both of them are absolutely key. So for essentially talk and then walk the talk, right? What we're able to do, this goes back to your cultural question as well, is to make as an organizational language concepts such as design of experiments, such as agile, right? So once you do that, the pace will initially be slow, but at least if going by an example of maybe one set of companies, this happens and it's no longer a challenge.
Awesome. So one is upward delegation to Modi and of course more. Pankaj, give us a closing comment. More than that to say, here is the opportunity.
I want to talk about the opportunity for India.
Let's go.
We had an internal Aditya Birla event a few weeks back called Fulcrum. And there were 2 killer apps in our event, and I would encourage everyone to sort of think about that. By the way, we had the same, distinct communication. These people, Samir referred us, and they did a fabulous job of organizing the event. So this is a plug for all of you to use them if you want to do an event. So the first killer app was Arun Pai, who sells Bangalore through his walks and through his talks and via the Silicon Valley. And people who haven't heard him, they should do that. But the killer app I want to talk about is Sharat Sharma and iSpirit. I think this whole digital public infrastructure or digital public goods, if you haven't heard this DPI, DPG acronym, please Google it. This is the killer app for India. I'm convinced that in the next 20 years, this is what will take India far. While China is bringing OBOR, they are building roads. We can't build roads, but we can build software. I think we will take over the world through software because these open source softwares will be adopted globally. And I think no other country in the world has done that. They have all surrendered, all these public infrastructure to the private sector. And we are the only country we are doing that. So I think it is happening very slowly and steadily. Happy to share the pitch Sharat Sharma made, the 30-year vision of iSpirit on where they think they can take us. I think that's our killer app. We don't have to create a Google or whatever. If we do the digital public infrastructure right, everything else will flow. So I am very, very hopeful of all that India is doing in that regard. And most people are unaware of it. I think it's good for everyone to just read about it and be connected to it because lots of new things, account aggregator platform, ONDC, what have you. So many things are coming.
Awesome. So there's a lot happening. Anshuma, final remarks to you.
Supria, in case,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sure.
It's a great point, and I think social was, I don't know whether people have seen recently in Turkey, the earthquake, right? There were drones flying there with LED lights, okay, lighting the area for the search. So I think those kind of innovative applications will actually pretty much rule the world. So.
Brilliant.
Okay, so now everybody's spoken about the fact that the infrastructure will be easily available and we'll do a lot of things and what's the opportunity that we have to. But I'm coming from an industry where we are trying to solve a problem which is much more deeper. And let me talk about the problem because from problems comes opportunity. So with AI coming in, there is a lot of consumption of power which is going to happen. And that is going to be one of the significant factors which will probably be a big roadblock in terms of AI and AI adoption. And let me tell you a little bit more about that. There are about 500 billion devices today, and it's expected that by 2030 there will be about 1 trillion devices. So a user generally generates about 1 gigabyte of data, but an autonomous vehicle generates about 4,000 gigabytes of data, which is around 4 terabytes of data. And these kind of devices are going to have AI computing, which is going to have a massive power consumption. So to be able to run one AI model, the amount of carbon which is generated is equivalent to running 5 cars their entire lifetime. Now, with the AI workloads increasing and more of them being in the visual space, which is like the cameras and all, that is the area which is really consuming a lot of power. One small camera is nearly around 5 to 8 watts, and it's believed that China has around 500 billion cameras by 2020. It had, which is really equivalent to 12 terawatt hours. Now, what is 12 terawatt hours? This is the amount of power which is required to run a nuclear reactor. So that's the amount of power which is being utilized just by the cameras which are there. So this is one of the major roadblocks for this industry. And organizations like ours are really working towards that. So we have products where we're trying to see if we could bring down the power consumption. Therefore, sustainability is a very big word in our industry today. And the other is primarily around the supply chain, even though people say that, it's all over, but there is a lot on the supply chain front. And India has a big opportunity with the geopolitics which is happening and the kind of focus that the Indian government has today, the nationalization that we are seeing with the public and the private really coming together. I think that's a big step. And we as an organization are actually working a lot with all countries, primarily US and India in that regard. So I think a big opportunity lies whoever solves this problem of power, of supply chain, and that's what we can look at.
Wow. Thank you so much, Anshuma. You did wake us up in the end to say that, and I'm sure all of you were awake even during the session. But it's not all that, the ink is not dried yet. I think we have a lot to solve, and sustainability is clearly one of them, and fabulous. I think we've had a great panel conversation. Let's raise the hand for them. Samir, the time is up for us. Thank you.